Thinking of planting roots in Redwood City? I'm going to give you some of my top homebuyer mistakes to avoid. I've seen it all, the good, the bad, and the costly. So let's save your wallet and your dreams. First thing you need to be aware of when purchasing is you got to factor in closing costs. Closing costs are generally going to range anywhere from about 2 to 5% depending on the type of loan that you're getting. As an example, FHA loans, while you're putting less down, they do require a bigger reserve that you can actually finance into the loan. But if you're not financing that into the loan, you have to have that bigger reserve amount, which is going to increase your closing costs. If you're just doing a conventional loan, the closing cost might be about 1 or 2% even. And those closing costs are generally going to incorporate 1 or 2 months worth of monthly payments that you would be making anyway. So when you're comparing costs from lender to lender in Redwood City, make sure that you're comparing apples to apples in the actual loan costs to do the loan. Those are called non-recurring closing costs, which are basically one-time fees. As an example, a lender might charge a one-time fee to do the loan, whereas one lender might finance it into the interest rate. So you got to be aware of those things. Make sure you're looking at inspections. While this doesn't necessarily affect your immediate closing costs, it will definitely affect your wallet. Now, as a general practice, most people in the area will do inspections for you up front, but technically speaking, it's always the buyer's responsibility, so sometimes they're not. If they're not, definitely make sure you do those inspections. You don't want to be caught holding the buck, if you will, if the hot property needs some major repairs. You want to factor in, on average, an average home of average age, say about 40, 50 years, that's been well maintained, needs anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 worth of repair work. Usually when you get over about $20,000 in repair work that comes up on those inspection reports, that's when you can kind of start to visually see that the home is in a state of repair and needs some fixing up. Think about it. If a home needs a new water heater, that's a couple grand right there. And that's if the rest of the house is absolutely pristine, which usually doesn't happen. There's always some kind of leak or something like that going on somewhere. And while this might not be a closing cost, make sure that you vibe with where you want to live. That's where you're going to be planting down roots. Make sure you like the schools, the neighborhood, the area. You don't want to move in and find out that you're absolutely hating life. If you have questions about what some of the areas in the city might be right for you, watch some of my other videos. One of the good things in Redwood City is it actually has a slightly lower than average property tax rate as well. Your tax rate is generally about 1.16%. On average, most people calculate property tax to be about 1.25%. It varies a little bit depending on the county though. Redwood City also has utilities that are run by the city, so generally speaking, they're pretty affordable in my humble opinion. But you want to budget about a couple $100, maybe $200 to $400 depending on the size and location of your property. And obviously if you're buying a condo or HOA, make sure you look into those HOA documents. One of the biggest mistakes I see home buyers make is they purchase a property without looking at the HOA documents and they get hit with a special assessment. You want to make sure there's enough reserve funds to fund the HOA and it's being well managed. And don't think short term, picture long term. You want to plan to be in that property for at least 5 to 7 years. If you need an extra room for an office or a nursery, make sure you're planning ahead. If you're ready to take that plunge, let me know. I can guide you through all the different mistakes that I've seen buyers make and what to avoid. It's like having a map to landmines. So you can just sit back and enjoy life. Was this video helpful? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. My name is Graeham Watts with Intero Real Estate.